So we'll restart from verse 2.14. Matra
Yes.
sparshastu kaunteya
Matra sparsatu kaunseya
sitoshna sukha dukkadam
Chitoshna sukha dukkada
agamapayino nityas
Agama payino nityas
tam stitis sasva bharata.
Tanstitichis Tanstitichis Bharata.
O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So, yeah, Manish Prabhu, please read the purport.
Yeah. In the proper discharge of duty, one has to learn to tolerate non-permanent appearances and disappearances of happiness and distress. According to Vedic injunction, one has to take his bath early in the morning, even during the month of Magha, January, February. It is very cold at that time. But in spite of that, a man who abides by the religious principles does not hesitate to take his bath. Similarly, a woman does not hesitate to cook in the kitchen in the months of May and June, the hottest part of the summer season. One has to execute his duty in spite of climatic inconveniences. Similarly, to fight is the religious principle of the Kshatriyas, and although one has to fight with some friend or relative, one should not deviate from his prescribed duty. One has to follow the prescribed rules and regulations of religious principles in order to rise up to the platform of knowledge. Because by knowledge and devotion only can one liberate himself from the clutches of Maya. The two different names of ad, the two different names of address given to Arjuna are also significant. To address him as Kaunteya signifies his great blood relations from his mother's side, and to address him as Bharata signifies his greatest from his father's side. From both sides, he is supposed to have a great heritage. A great heritage brings responsibility in the matter of in the matter of proper discharge of duties. Therefore, he cannot avoid fighting.
Very good. So, just like we are going through summer now, if you say it's summer, so I don't want to do any work, that's a problem. If you say, oh, it is very cold, so I don't want to do something, that's a problem too. So one has to rise above the climatic
Inconvenience.
changes. It's not easy. It's not easy, right? I mean, summer, the other day I went to the farm and I worked for 4 hours and I got like whole body was sweaty and got totally dehydrated. So you'll say, okay, it's very tough. Yeah, it is very tough. There is no, doubt about it. But at the same time, we have to do what is necessary. And here, Arjuna, just like Arjuna referred to Krishna as Rishikesh, Madhava, Govinda, different terms. Remember, he was referring to Krishna in different names in the first chapter as well as second chapter. Now, Krishna is addressing Arjuna as Kaunteya. Kaunteya means in the Kunti family, right? And also as Bharata. So both sides of the family, he has great ancestors. So he has to do his job properly. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Because if you have some great heritage in your family as a great heritage of businessman, and if you say, oh, business is too much work, then people will laugh at you. If you're great heritage of fighters or IAS officers or something, right? And you say, I don't want to do that. I want to become a computer game programmer. People will laugh at you. Same way, Arjuna has this great heritage, and it is expected that he maintains that. Okay, 2:15. Yam hina vyatanti yete
Yam hina vathante te
purusham purusharshabam
Purusham Purusharsabha.
Samadukha Sukham Dhriram.
Samdukha Sukham Dhiram.
So Amritatvaya Kalpate.
So Amrit Tatvaya Kalpate.
So Krishna is continuing. He's praising Arjuna actually. Oh, best amongst men, Arjun. The person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. So already Krishna is giving the secret. Who is eligible for liberation? So happiness will come, distress will come. We have to be neutral, right? The whole life in general has to be neutral. Like, something will break down, something will, you'll get a promotion. Next day your car will break down or something like that, right? House gets burnt, like Harulas Maharaj's house got burnt in 2003. But he continued his journey, right? In spiritual journey. No matter what happens, you have to continue. That is what Krishna's point is. Not being disturbed, being neutral. Very difficult. But there are people who are practicing it. Okay, Sunil Prabhu, please read.
Okay. Anyone who is steady in his determination for the advanced stage of spiritual realization and can equally tolerate the onslaughts of distress and happiness is certainly a person eligible for liberation. In Varnasrama institution, the fourth stage of life, namely the renounced order sannyasa, is a painstaking situation. But one who is serious about making his life perfect surely adopts the sannyasa order of life in spite of all difficulties. The difficulties usually arise from having to sever family relationships, to give up the connection of wife and children. But if anyone is able to tolerate such difficulties, surely his path to spiritual realization is complete. Similarly, in Arjuna's discharge of duties as a Kshatriya, he is advised to preserve even if it is difficult to fight with his family members or similarly beloved persons. Lord Chaitanya took sannyas at the age of 24, and his dependents, young wife as well as the old mother, had no one else to look after them. Yet, for a higher cause, he took sannyasa and was steady in the discharge of higher duties. That is a way of achieving liberation from material bondage. So, Prabhu, what is it mean by liberation here? What is the
Liberation
outcome of
means liberation from the material conception, right? So, which means nothing material will affect you.
means?
So, there are two kinds of liberation. Actually, there are many kinds of liberation, but prominent is one is liberation after we die, the soul goes to the spiritual world. Second is Jivan Mukta liberation. Means even though we are alive here, even in this body, we can be liberated. Right? So Krishna also in one of the verses later, he says, Jivan Mukta Sa Uchyate. So even when we are alive, we can be liberated if none of the material things affect us.
Okay. This crossing of material ocean means what?
Crossing of material ocean means samsara. Samsara is like a sagaram.
That is also a liberation.
Yeah, crossing the material ocean means you are basically saying, I won't be born again. So at in one lifetime, when we leave the body, we never come back into a new body. But we have so much karma, right? That's why we are forced to take birth. But by surrendering to Mukunda or Krishna, all those things will be removed. I mean, ultimately, if you take sannyas, most of these things are just removed automatically. But then we are all family members, so we have to do our duties to a certain extent. We cannot take sannyas tomorrow, right? Of course, there are people who have done that, like Gopal Krishna Maharaj. He was married, he did an MBA from McGill University in Canada. He was working in PepsiCo, I think, in a very senior position. And then, hearing Prabhupada, then he understood that, okay, now this is my path. So he just basically left his family. and he took sannyas. Done.
So how the liberated person will live? How do they look like? I mean,
Yeah, so Krishna will describe. If you continue in Bhagavad Gita, one place, Arjuna asks, how does such a person look? How does he walk? How does he act? How does he talk? So Krishna gives description of a person. So that is coming up. So let's not be in a hurry. It's a good
that is
question, but Krishna will talk about those qualities.
Mm.
Like Prabhupada is considered a liberated person. Why? Because out of 24 hours, every minute that he was awake, he was thinking about Krishna. He was always thinking, oh, should I grow this movement in China? Should I grow this in Dallas? Should I grow this in Seattle? Seattle is the third temple when he established the movement, right? New York, San Francisco, third was Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Are we thinking like that? Are we thinking, oh, what should I do next for Krishna? We are thinking, okay, I worked very hard at work today, so let me relax a little bit. For him, he never thought of relaxation. Oh, okay. What should I do for Krishna? How should I train the new people like that? Right? So there are symptoms of liberated person. They're always talking of Krishna, always preaching. We're raising funds for building new temples, right? Teaching new people various activities like Bhagavad Gita, how to chant, how to cook for the Lord. But Prabhupada not only just gave classes, he was teaching his disciples how to cook. Right? So it's multifaceted, multidimensional.
The liberation word meaning is actually, in English, it means liberation from some government or some force.
Yeah. So in the Western world, liberation means like India got liberated from the British. America got liberated from the British and the French. Right? But here, liberation from the cycle of birth and death. If you're taking birth again, then you're not liberated. At some point, you have to stop and go back to the spiritual world. Or second thing is, even when you are alive, if you are acting in the spiritual platform 24/7, then you are liberated. So we have to measure ourselves. Every movement out of the every waking movement, how much percentage we are doing for Krishna. It is usually like, for 5% or something. So then, which shows that we have a lot more work to do, right? A lot more to go. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's formula is very simple. Chant Hare Krishna mantra, dance in front of the deities, sing, even before sleeping, think of Krishna. At waking up, Mangalarti time, think of Krishna. So in this way, you are surrounded with Krishna consciousness. So if you follow that, then we are liberated. I mean, every one of us has a right. Krishna says, Srila Prabhupada says in one of the purport, then it becomes your right. He uses the term right. Right? People will say, oh, I need my rights. It will become your right if you follow that. Right now, we are not there. Doesn't mean we won't get there, right? Compared to 5 years ago, you're already progressing. And 15 years later, you will realize, oh, I've already progressed so much, but there is so much more to go. But we have to get convinced, right? That is the most important thing. Are we convinced that the material life, there is not much to it? So I need to focus my life in this direction. If you are convinced, everything will follow. Most of the time, we are not fully convinced. So what are we going to do? So Chaitanya Prabhu, it is said, Apni achare Prabhu jivera shikhay. Apni acharan, from his own behavior, he taught the souls on how to live. He was married, right? He has an old mother, but he said, okay, for a higher cause, I'll go. Because he came as a acharya, he came as a devotee to show by his own example. But many of us don't have the courage to do those things. So what we do, we go through Vanaprastha. So Varnashrama. Varnashrama is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and then Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. So you can go stepping stones, one by one, stages. But if you are fully convinced, you can just quit. I know one of the persons from Seattle, Satyavak Prabhu. He came in contact with this knowledge. He took initiation in Seattle. He quit his job in T-Mobile. He went to Ujjain in Madhya Pradesh. He started preaching there, book distribution. And last year he passed away. Right in front of us, T-Mobile employee, taking initiation, quitting his job, becoming a full-time brahmachari, leaving his body. Now, what do you say? By the time he was like 27 or 28, he was fully convinced. And by 30, 31, he already left the body. He's gone. And there are many people who are like, I have purchased my house, first house. I purchased 2 cars. Now I'm on to my second house. Then maybe I'll do my third house. So our plans are very different than Krishna's plans, right? See the difference? Right in front of our eyes, we are seeing case studies. There are many such case studies, not one. Like Navayogendra Swami, his parents are forcing to get married. I think either on the day of marriage or the night before the marriage, he ran away from home, never to return to his home. And this was what? He's 76 right now. So if you subtract 16 years from 76, 60 years ago he did this. And since then he's a sannyasi.
In our congregation also one person took sannyasi. You know Yugal Prabhu?
Who?
Yugal. Actually, he was working in Nordstrom here, but his brother is also a preacher in India, in Pune ISKCON.
Oh, so Yugal Kishore, what's his name, full name?
Yugal, I know his first name only, Yugal Prabhu.
Yugal.
He comes for Kirtan and all. So he
now he
decided
became full-time?
Yeah, now he has become full-time. He is planning to go back to India. So
See,
he,
right in front of your eyes.
yeah,
He got initiated only like a couple of years ago, right?
yeah. I think he is born and I mean he brought up in this Krishna consciousness
Yeah.
atmosphere only.
Yeah.
His
Right in
brother
front
is-
of us, there are so many examples. Right in front of us. So we just have to learn from that. You cannot artificially force, right? It has to come naturally. You cannot artificially say, okay, now I'm going to follow Yugal and go to Pune and leave everything. No, it has to be natural, step by step. Because if you go artificially, what will happen?
You will fall down.
Yeah, fall down. You'll come back again. You'll again after 2-4. I know there are people who came back also. I know one person from Seattle. He went to Telangana in India, which used to be Andhra Pradesh. He went to a farm community. He quit his job, IT job. He used to be my colleague in Microsoft. He went there. He stayed there for 4 years. Then something happened. He again applied for Infosys. He joined Infosys. Now he's like vice president in Infosys in Hyderabad. So he has seen the complete cycle, material life, spiritual life, and came back to material life. And he's doing very well. He has 700 people working for him. Very senior position, right? So you'll see both cases. You see Satyavak Prabhu, who quit his job, became full-time brahmachari. He left his body. So do you think he's liberated or not?
He's not fully liberated.
Yeah, but he's better than most of us, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
He again came back to material life.
No, I'm talking about the person who left his body, right? Satyavak.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's more likely liberated. But the person who came back, he somehow missed the boat. So I'll show you n number of case studies in both directions. We ourselves are a case study for somebody, right? They'll say, look at that Prabhu, he got initiated 10 years ago. He's still not progressing, right? There'll be people talking about me too. Because I got initiated, how many? 2008, 15 years ago, right? So somebody will take my case study. They'll say, "Arey, this Prabhu got initiated 15 years ago. Still is not progressing very well," like that. So, I mean, this is not artificial. You have to go by the pace at which you can go. But if you're able to, then go for it once and for all, right? Like Yugal did, Yugal Prabhu did, and so on. Okay, let's move on. Na sato vidyate bhavo.
न सदो विद्यते भावो
Na bhavo vidyate satah.
न भावो विद्यते सदः
Ubayorapi drishtantas.
वयोरपि दृष्टवन्तः
Navidayostatvadharshibhi.
तयोस्तत्त्वदर्शिभिः
Those who are the seers of truth have concluded that of the non-existent there is no endurance, and of the eternal there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both.
That situation. Hare Krishna.
Okay, was there a question?
But like if you do Maharaj, I understand you.
No, Prabhu. Should I read the purport?
No, I'm hearing one more conversation in the background. I don't know who that
Oh,
is.
okay. Actually, I'm sitting in the temple, so let me just get away a little. Yeah. Sorry, Prabhu.
So is
Is it better now?
Mataji doing some other service? She's not in the
No,
class.
Mataji is in, like, actually, she is traveling to India. She's not here.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So like, I think she just landed, I think, 10 hours back. I think she must be sleeping right now. I told her that there's a class, but she
Okay.
didn't join. That means like she must be sleeping.
Yeah,
So
no,
not able to wait.
no problem. If you're traveling, it
Yeah.
is difficult. So is everything okay in India?
Yeah. So like, like there was some puja in like in her family.
Okay.
So her mother called her. So like everything was okay. So like, but like she just traveled suddenly
Okay, that's
in a
good.
week.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Please read the translation and purport.
Yeah. Okay. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. There is no endurance of the changing body, that the body is changing every moment by the actions and reactions. The different cells is admitted by modern medical science, and thus growth and old age are taking place in the body. But the spirit soul exists permanently, remain the same despite all changes of the body and the mind. That is the difference between matter and spirit. By nature, the body is ever changing and the soul is eternal. This conclusion is established by all classes of seers of the truth, both impersonalist and personalist. In Vishnu Puran 2.12.38, it is stated that Vishnu and his abodes all have self-illuminated spiritual existence. Jyotim si Vishnur Bhuvanani Vishnu. The words existent and non-existent refers only to spirit and matter. That is the person of all seers of truth. This is the beginning of instruction by Lord of the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. Removal of ignorance involves the re-establishment of the eternal relationship between the worshipper and the worshipable, and the consequent understanding of the difference between the part and parcel living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can understand the nature of the Supreme by thorough study of oneself. The difference between oneself and the Supreme being understood as the relationship between the part and the whole. In the Vedanta Sutra, as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme has been accepted as the origin of all emanations. Such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. Natural sequences. The living entities belong to the superior nature and it will be revealed in the seventh chapter. Although there is no difference between the energy and the energetic is accepted as a supreme and the energy of our nature is accepted as a subordinate. The energy is accepted as a supreme and the energy or nature is energetic is accepted as supreme and the energy or the nature is accepted as the subordinate. The living entities therefore are always subordinate to the supreme lord, as in the case of the master and the servant, or the teacher and the taught. Such clear knowledge is impossible to understand under the spell of ignorance. And to drive away such ignorance, the Lord teaches the Bhagavad Gita for the enlightenment of the all living entities for all time.
Very nice. So, what is your understanding of this purport?
Well, I think this one is like a little complex, Prabhu. I might have to just read it again.
Yes, from the starting, from the beginning, you read two lines and then break it down. That way you will.
Yeah. There is no endurance of the that's a short Prabhu. There is no endurance of the changing body. That the body is changing every moment by the actions and the action and reactions of different cells and is admitted by the modern medical science. Thus, growth and old age are taking place in the body, but the spirits all exist permanently. Okay, so like this means like basically the spirit is there, like so it's like never changing, but our like, body is like keep on changing every day because our like cells are like still dying and like new cells are coming up. So that's because of that. Then that is the difference between the matter and spirit. By nature, the body is ever changing and the soul is internal. Okay. This conclusion is established by all classes of seers of truth, both impersonalist and personalist. In Vishnu Puran, it is stated that Vishnu and his abodes all have self-illuminated spiritual existence. The word existent and non-existent refer only to spirit and matter. That is the version of all seers of truth. So, probably like here, like this line, right? The words existent and non-existent refers only to spirit and matter. So, like what it means basically.
So, if something is existing or non-existing, that is only referring to existing is the spirit and non-existing is matter, because matter goes through transformations. Matter can never be created nor destroyed, right? So it will just change its nature. So therefore, in a way, it is considered non-existent.
Okay, so matter is non-existent and spirit is always existent.
Spirit is always existent because spirit cannot be killed in any way. It just keeps going from place to place. Whereas matter can be transformed. I mean, it cannot be totally annihilated, but it can be transformed. So something like you see earth become bricks, bricks become building, building becomes something else. And later on, everything after its natural life of 100 years, then the building crumples and becomes again earth.
Earth, yeah.
So from that sense, it is not existent permanently. So everything is temporary. The Mayavadi says it is not existent at all. That is different. Actually, it exists.
Yeah.
It is just that it is temporary. That is how we understand the Vaishnava understanding.
Okay. Got it. So this is the beginning of the instruction by the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. Removal of ignorance involves the re-establishment of the eternal relationship between the worshipper and the worshipable, and the consequent understanding of the different between the part and parcel living entities and the supreme personality of Godhead. Okay. Okay. So basically, here like Lord is like basically starting to explain like to the like to us like who like how we are like being ignorant and so basically like what is the difference between like us and supreme personality of Godhead and like how can that be achieved. So Krishna is starting to explain that.
Yeah.
One can understand the nature of supreme by thorough study of oneself. The difference between oneself and supreme being understood as a relationship between the part and whole.
Yeah, this is a very important point, right? To understand God, first you have to understand yourself. So do you live? Yes. Do you walk, talk? Same, God can do all of that. But he is the whole, like he can do bigger things, like creating universes and creating and destroying universes. You may be able to create a C++ program and destroy a C++ program, right? You can
Yeah.
also create and destroy, but at a much smaller scale. That's because we are parts of the supreme whole. You cannot create a new planet just like that. It is not,
Correct. Yeah.
it is basically impossible for anybody. But the Lord can do it. So
Mhm.
that is the relationship with the whole. He is the whole and we are the part. We are Anu, very minute. He is Vibhu, means he's very big. In India, some people will have the names, right? Vibhu will be the name. Vibhu means like somebody else is infinite. Anu means infinitesimal or small.
Small.
Mhm.
Okay. In the Vedant Sutras, as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme has been accepted as the origin of all emanations. Such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. Is okay. So like, what are these like sequences here? Like what Prabhupada is referring to?
So emanations, we are all emanating, means we are all coming out of that whole. So just like sun rays are coming out of sun, we are also coming out of Krishna, right?
Okay.
But
Yeah.
some are superior, some are inferior. Superior means Vishnu Tattva and inferior is Jiva Tattva.
Okay.
And they're natural sequences, just like, you have arithmetic sequence, logarithmic sequence, geometric sequence. So they keep on coming, right? One after the other, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like that. In a sequence, they're just coming out. That's all he's saying.
Mhm. Okay. So like what is like the experienced by the superior, and so like what is the experience here? Like such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences.
Emanation, we are emanating from the Supreme Lord, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you get that experience of Vishnu Tattva. Oh, then I have to surrender to Vishnu. I have to do some things. And most of the time, we are experiencing inferior natural sequences.
Okay.
Inferior in this material world, right? You are seeing that a
Okay.
dog is giving birth to a dog. A cat is giving birth to a cat. They're also sequences, but they're inferior. But then you see that, Vishnu has these various avatars. That's a superior sequence. Like Krishna. From Krishna comes Ayodhya Rama. From there, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, Karnodakshay Vishnu. No, sorry, Karnodakshay Vishnu first, then Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and then comes Shirodakshay Vishnu. Yeah, so this sequence is there. There is a
Okay.
spiritual sequence or superior sequence, and there is inferior. You are seeing so
Inferior.
many other things happen, right? Nothing is stopping. Everything is just
Correct.
keeps on growing.
It can happen.
Something or the other is happening.
Mhm. Okay. The living entities belong to the superior nature, and it will be revealed in the 7th chapter. Although there is no difference between the energy and the energetic is accepted at the supreme, and the energy, or nature, is accepted as the subordinate.
Yeah, this is a very important point. Krishna is the energetic, right? From whom energy comes out,
Okay.
right? For example, you have a battery, and if you put the battery positive, negative, then it will run a motor. So the battery is the energetic, and the motor is the one that is running based on the energy or the emanation of the energy from that battery. Similarly, Krishna is the energetic. He's the source of all energies. You say kinetic energy, potential energy, this energy,
Everything. Yeah.
latent energy in a battery, everything comes ultimately from Krishna. So we are all subordinate, no matter what, because you cannot generate energy on your own.
Okay. I think now it's clear. I'll just read the remaining lines. The living entities, therefore, are always subordinate to the Supreme Lord, as in the case of the master and the servant, or the teacher and the taught. Such clear knowledge is impossible to understand under the spell of ignorance. And to drive any away such ignorance, the Lord teaches the Bhagavad Gita for the enlightenment of all living entities for all time.
You still had a doubt on the energetic versus energy?
No, I had the doubt, but now I'm like I'm good.
Yeah. It's very simple, right? A lot of things are, he's talking about a lot of physical aspects here. Physics. Emanations are experienced by superior and inferior. So the superior is what? The Krishna energy, right? And the
Yeah.
inferior is anything that is like a table, comes from transformation of iron or glass or wood, right?
Yeah.
And wood is also a transformation of Mother Earth. Earth is
Correct.
also a transformation of something that's coming from Krishna's energy.
Krishna.
Ultimately, there has to be a starting point. That's the key message. The starting energy is Krishna. And scientists will say everything except that there is a superior being from which it is coming. Right? If you say, oh, how are you able to run this electric car? Oh, because of this physical fluctuations, blah, blah, blah. The electricity is moving like this and so on. But where is it coming from? That they won't answer.
Yeah, the only thing, like, I think that the main answer is like that. Like there is a theory which says that, like, energy can never be created nor be destroyed. So like,
but where is
we
the
just
first energy come from? Prime mover. Who is the prime mover? Somebody has
so
to
it's like no
right?
source.
I did mechanical engineering and we were taught in college thermodynamics. Prime mover. So somebody has to move the first thing. Then everything else will be set into motion. You're exploiting that motion by building a Tesla car, by building an internal combustion engine in Toyota or Honda or Hyundai or whatever, right? But where is that primary energy coming from? Oh, it's coming from petrol. Where is petrol coming from? It's coming from ground. Where is ground coming from? You have to go to that primary source, right? That source is Krishna.
Correct.
Yeah. Avinashi tu tadvidhi.
Avinashi tu tadvidhi.
Yena sarvam idam tatam.
Yena sarvam idam tatam.
Vinasham avyayasya.
Vinasam avyayasya.
Na kaschit kartum arhati.
Na kaschit kartum arhati.
That which pervades the entire body you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. Okay, Sunil Prabhu, please read the purport.
This verse more clearly explains the real nature of the soul, which is spread all over the body. Anyone can understand what is spread all over the body. It is consciousness. Everyone is conscious of the pains and pleasures of the body in part or as a whole. This spreading of consciousness is limited within one's own body, unknown to another. Therefore, each and every body is embodiment of an individual soul, and the symptom of the soul's presence is perceived as individual consciousness. This soul is described as 1/10 part of the upper portion of the hair point in size. The Sveda Avtara Upanishad confirm this. बालाग्रसस्तभागस्य सदाथ कल्पितस्य च भागो जीवस्य विज्ञेय शानन्ताय कल्पते. When the upper point of a hair is divided into 100 parts, and again each of such parts is further divided into 100 parts, each such part is the measurement of the dimension of the spirit soul. Similarly, the same version is stated Keshagra Sada Bhagasya Sadancha Sadarshatmakaha Jiva Sukshma Swarupo Yam Ayam Sankyat Atito Hi Chitkana. There are innumerable particles of spiritual atoms which are measured as 1/10,000th of the upper portion of the hair. Therefore, the individual particle of spirit soul is a spiritual atom smaller than the material atoms, and such atoms are innumerable. This very small spiritual spark is the basic principle of the material body, and the influence of such a spiritual spark is spread all over the body as the influence of the active principle of some medicine spreads throughout the body. This current of spirit soul is felt all over the body as consciousness, and that is a proof of presence of the soul. Any layman can understand that the material body minus consciousness is a dead body, and this consciousness cannot be revived in the body by any means of material administration. Therefore, consciousness is not due to any amount of material combination, but to the spirit soul. In Muganta Upanishad, the measurement of atomic spirit soul is further explained. Esho Anaratma Chedasa Veditavyo Yasmin Prana Panchada Sammivesha Pranayasthidam Sarvam Udam Prajnanam Yasmin Vishuddhe Vibhayasti Eva Atma. The soul is atomic in size and can be perceived by perfect intelligence. This atomic soul is floating in the 5 kinds of air: prana, apana, vyana, samana, and udana. Is situated within the heart and spreads its influence all over the body of the embodied living entities. When the soul is purified from the contamination of 5 kinds of material air, its spiritual influence is exhibited. The Hatha Yoga system is meant for controlling the 5 kinds of air, encircling the pure soul by different kinds of sitting postures, not for any material profit, but for liberation of the minute soul from entanglement of the material atmosphere. So the constitution of the atomic soul is admitted in all Vedic literatures, and it is also actually felt in the practical experience of any sane man. Only the insane man can think of this atomic soul as all-pervading Vishnu Tattva. Only the insane man can think of this atomic soul as all-pervading Vishnu Tattva.
Yeah,
The
so
influence-
basically, a lot of good points here. So soul is atomic, right? And it is floating in 5 kinds of airs. So if you look at pranayama, the pranayama, science of pranayama, of breathing in, breathing out, is to regulate the energies around the soul. So 5 kinds of air: prana, vyana, samana, udana, etc. So these 5 kinds of air are basically floating the soul. You may think that I have nerves and blood cells and vessels and all that. But if you look at it from a different dimension, just like X-ray will look at your bones, if you look at a spiritual X-ray, essentially the soul is floating in 5 kinds of airs. And sickness is when one of the kind of air is not regulated properly. Like some people's digestive problem is there. That is one kind of air problem. Some people, they'll cough like that, right? What happens? Air in the trachea is not regulated properly. So there are 5 kinds of airs that have to be regulated. That is what pranayama means. Yama means a process. Prana means basically process of regulating the prana air.
But this is applicable only if the soul is in the material body, right?
Of course, right? We are all in the material body, right? So the science of Bhagavad Gita is given to us so that we can purify the soul in this material body. You still need a body to purify it.
So after leaving the material body, then
we'll get a spiritual body if everything goes well.
No, in normal condition, if it is going to the next body, so between that there will be a transit state, right?
Yeah, so your mind, intelligence, false ego will be in transit. It will go into, like if you have committed any sinful activities, then it will go to Narak or hell. There will be some amount of treatment given to us based on what we did. And then we'll be forced to put into a body, but that we deserve. For example, if we did a lot of negative things, we may be forced to put into a dog's body or a pig's body. So there'll be a lot of conditioning so that when we go into the pig's body or dog's body, we feel very natural. So that is called the process of conditioning the soul. Otherwise, like if you with your human consciousness, if you go into a pig's body, you won't like it there. Whereas once you're conditioned, if somebody goes into a pig's body, they will feel normal. You see the point?
Mm.
So soul goes through a lot of transitory phases. It goes through.
It can take a human body also.
Yeah, even to go to human body, if it's like now you're chanted for so many years, you'll be put into a human body in a devotee's family, for example. Just like Yugal, you'll be born in a family of devotees. And once you are 22, 23 in your next life, you'll say, all this is nonsense. I'll just take sannyas. Right? See, why is Yugal be able to do it and we cannot do it? You have to think about that point. We are not ready yet. Right? It will feel very unnatural for you and me to take sannyas. If we tried also, it won't happen. But then there is a certain multi-lifetime career. So we are somewhere in the career, in some trajectory. And the next lifetime will get a little better. Following lifetime will get a lot better. Possibly in 3-4 lifetimes, we'll leave this material world and go back to.
Does that mean all these demoniac people will come to that stage in future?
Demonic people will take longer duration, right? They may take 10,000 lifetimes, they may take 100,000 lifetimes or 1,000,000 lifetimes. But because we have this knowledge and we are acting on it, we'll take less number of lifetimes. I mean, it is almost impossible to get liberated in one lifetime. Right? Sometimes you'll see 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds in the temple, they will hold a japmala, sometimes upside down, and they'll be chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Now, where do you think they have that knowledge from? Think about it.
Yeah.
It's coming from the previous life. They've already done to a certain extent in the previous life, and they're continuing their journey in this life.
Yesterday, I came to know that there was a lady who was actually a reincarnation of Anna Frank. I shared it in the group.
Yeah, it is quite possible. There are a lot of stories where people claim that they are somebody else from the previous life. So you cannot, deny that. But our job is, we have the science. Now we have to act upon that science, right? So science, the process is given. You have to chant a number of rounds every day. You have to not eat meat, fish, or eggs because it interferes with your spiritual progress, right? So we follow the process and continue. You and I, the reason we are sitting and talking Bhagavad Gita is last life we did something. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. And the mercy of Prabhupada, we quickly latched onto it. We have his books. We are learning. We are trying to practice. And we'll continue some journey. And next lifetime, we'll do a little bit more. Following lifetime, we'll do a little bit more. Usually, Srila Prabhupada said, in a few lifetimes, you'll go back. Done. But he also said, if you are super serious, you'll go back to Godhead in this very lifetime. It's very clear we are not super serious. Do you agree?
Yes.
I agree, Prabhu.
Yeah.
But like let's say like in 10 years or 20 years, like doing this repeatedly, like we can be like on that super seriousness level or not.
Yeah, it will come. Like, when I started in 2003, I had no knowledge, right, of spirituality. So all the devotees taught me, Prabhupada's books taught me, and I'm at a certain level now, much better than where I started, but lot more to go, right? So I know that it is not possible in one lifetime at the rate that which I am progressing. There is progress, but it is not a lot. It is gradual, little by little. So to get super serious, then we have to do something radical, right?
The super serious in what sense, Prabhu? Constant remembrance of Krishna and doing devotional services.
Yeah. Constant remembrance of Krishna and doing devotional service. But at the same time, right now, we are putting our legs on two boats. One is a material boat and one is a spiritual boat, right? Super
Yeah,
serious
but
means
while
we
doing
pick
material,
everything like just like Harulas Maharaj, right? What does he do? He doesn't even think about his family. He's like all bye-bye family. He's only focused on devotion. Every waking moment, he'll only focus on the temple or the farm or training some young devotees, right? Are we doing that? That's the question.
I mean, what Prabhupada told is like, even though if one is leading a family life, he can do this remembrance of Krishna all the time by
No, that is true,
thinking.
but you have to see from Prabhupada's life only. He used to sleep at around 9 p.m. or something, wake up at midnight, and he would read scriptures and translate them into English.
Yeah.
Right? So you have examples of how super serious means. Right? So, but again, you should not despair and say, oh, I'm not at that level. That's fine. You just keep working on it at the best of your ability and leave the rest to Krishna. Like there is this joke that is toyed around ISKCON. You know, Jadeja, cricket player. So he came to ISKCON temple and he said, yeah, I want to be a super nice devotee of Krishna. Next day, there was a case launched against him. Match fixing case. Right? So are you ready? If you say super serious, Krishna, make me super serious. So tomorrow some magical things will happen. You maybe get laid off from your job. Some paperwork error will happen and the house that you're living is no longer your house.
Yeah.
Right? Are you ready for that though? Krishna will drag you very quickly. But are you ready? Like, there were people were going for Nagar Sankirtan. Right? You also go to Nagar Sankirtan. I also go. So he was praying, Krishna, purify me as quickly as possible. So everything was started. Car broke down. They go there. Some strike is happening in Nagar Sankirtan area. They could not even do Nagar Sankirtan. Then one of the person said, Arey Baba, what is happening? Is somebody doing something? So one person came for and said, yeah, I prayed to Krishna that he should rapidly purify me. So nothing is working now. Then he said, Arey Baba, don't do that. Just at least let's do our service. Don't try to be a Paramahamsa devotee in one day. Right? You cannot take it. If Krishna directly intervenes in your life, things will... Only Kunti Devi could ask. Like Kunti Devi said, oh Krishna, when you were there, we had a lot of troubles, but you were there. Now, you don't have troubles, but you are not there. So better give me troubles, she asks. In Srimad Bhagavatam. But can you ask like that?
No.
Then you'll be blown away. Nothing will work. But Prabhupada did that, right? Prabhupada had 3 heart attacks in the Jaladuta coming to America. When he wrote the translation of Bhagavad Gita, somebody stole his papers. Sometime his own wife sold the translations.
40.
Right, and bought tea.
Yeah.
So Prabhupada could take it. You and I cannot take it. So let's stick to our program. Chanting the number of rounds, following the regulative principles, and wait for the mercy of the Lord. And ultimately it will come. So just we'll do our part and let Krishna do his magic. Okay, we'll meet next time then.
Okay, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.